My name is Esther.
Hello everyone, and I'm Laura, and today we're going to be telling you a story. And what's the name of our story?
Benjamin's Box.
Benjamin's Box, and it's a story we've been looking at the last few weeks. And there's a couple of things you might want to get that will really help you make the most of this story. So what do they need to get?
A box.
A box. And if you haven't got a treasure box, you can just find any box at home, a shoe box, a Tupperware box, a cardboard box. And if you want to, they might want to do what to their box? What might they want to put on it?
They might want to put some stickers on it.
Some stickers. They might want to decorate your box. So you might want to decorate a box. And then I'm going to ask you a few points. You might want to pause the video to look for different treasures that you might need to find around your home. And we've got ours in a bag today because we've already found ours, but you might want to go off and look for them during the story. We hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So this is a story about a little boy called
Benjamin.
Benjamin. Here we go. Long ago, in the faraway land of Palestine, there lived a boy named Benjamin. His small, humble home was nestled into a wall of houses, almost hidden on a narrow back street in the bustling city of Jerusalem. Benjamin loved Jerusalem because God's temple was there. More than that, Benjamin loved God. His grandfather had taught him many things about God when he was just a tiny boy. Benjamin talked to God a lot. He whispered prayers each night at sunset, and in the morning he always gave thanks for the new day. Benjamin's parents worked hard weaving and selling cloth, but their family was still quite poor, so Benjamin helped out by taking odd jobs around the city. Everyone in Jerusalem seemed to know Benjamin. They could always count on him to be honest and work hard. Oh, I wonder how old Benjamin was. How old do you think he was?
I don't know.
You want to have a guess?
40?
40? That's quite old for a little boy.
Or maybe 4.
Maybe 4. It could be. We don't know, do we? So the box. One bright spring morning, Benjamin sat outside in the sunshine. In his hands was a wooden box. Might have looked a bit like yours, mightn't it? But it might have looked a bit like the one that you've got at home. Hi, Benjamin, called his friend Eli. What's that you've got? It's my treasure box, said Benjamin. My grandfather gave it to me before he died last year. He said it was very special. Eli opened it and looked in. Do you want to have a look inside your box? Is there anything in there?
Only paper.
Piece of paper. That's it. Nothing in the box. Oh. So he didn't have anything in his box either. There's nothing in it except for some old straw. Oh, actually, yes, some old straw. To get the straw out of our bag.
Yeah. There's
Some straw. Can you remember why there's some old straw?
From the stable.
The stable where Jesus is born. So I think it goes on to say that. How can this be a treasure box then if it's just got old straw in it? Benjamin shrugged. I don't have any real treasures yet, but my grandfather said this straw came from the bed of a baby who was born in a stable. Who might that baby be?
Jesus.
Jesus. My grandfather was a shepherd then, and he said the baby would grow up to be a king. Why would a king be born in a stable with cows and donkeys? Eli laughed and closed the box. To close your box. I heard some sort of king is coming today. His name is Jesus. Want to come to the city gate and watch for him? Sure. My grandfather took me to hear a man called Jesus once. I like to listen to him. So Benjamin's going to go on his journey, isn't he? So I wonder who he's going to meet first. You got any ideas who he might meet first on his journey or not?
I don't know.
Not sure. Should we find out? Okay, here we go. So, crowds were already lining the street. Some people cut palm branches from trees and handed them around. Others laid garments on the street like a carpet. Wow, said Benjamin. He must be a king. The two boys squeezed through the throng just as a donkey entered the gate. That's him. Benjamin pointed to the man on the donkey. That's Jesus. Hosanna, Hosanna, cheered the crowd as they waved their palm branches in the air. "Hail to our new king," yelled an old man beside Benjamin. "Why does a king ride an ordinary donkey?" asked Benjamin. The old man turned. "It means he comes in peace." "Jesus has come to set us free. Hail, King Jesus!" Benjamin looked into Jesus' face as he drew near. Jesus smiled back, as if they were friends. The donkey plodded and Benjamin followed, pushing through the crowd to keep up. At last he drew close enough to pet the donkey. A small tuft of hair came off in his hand. That night Benjamin placed the bit of donkey fur in his treasure box. So who does Benjamin meet first?
He meets Jesus.
He meets the
Donkey.
donkey. He meets the donkey. He does meet Jesus because Jesus is riding on a donkey. But we want to remember that Benjamin meets Jesus on the donkey. So what have we got to remind us of the donkey? Can you remember what's in our bag?
We have some fur.
We've got something, it's the grey, isn't it? We've just got something to be like fur. So see what you can find at home. If you've got a pet, don't pull the fur off the pet. But if you've got some little bit of fur from an animal, you could put that in your box to remind you. Oh, I dropped. To remind you, whoopsie, of the donkey. You want to put it in your box?
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, let's see who Benjamin's going to meet next. So you might want to pause the video there to go and find something to be the donkey's fur, and make sure, if you can, find some straw to go in your box as well.
But don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell button.
Esther would like you to subscribe to the Woodies Kids channel as well if you haven't. So you can do that. Right, the next item that we're going to get in our box. Should we see what happens next? Okay. In the next days, Benjamin and Eli went to hear Jesus whenever they could. One day as they waited, Eli whispered, "The priests have offered money for someone to betray Jesus." "Why?" asked Benjamin. "What has he done? He only speaks the truth. They should listen to him." "The priests are jealous of him. They want Jesus to stop teaching," said Eli. "Someone should warn Jesus," declared Benjamin. "I'm not afraid. I'll go." He pushed through the crowd until he reached one of Jesus' friends. He tugged on the man's sleeve. "Excuse me, sir, are you with Jesus?" "Yes, I am," the man answered. "Please, I need to warn Jesus. He's in danger. The priests are offering a bribe to betray him. You must tell—" "Shh," said the man. "Do not repeat this. I'll take care of it." And he slipped a coin into Benjamin's hand. "Thank you, kind sir. What is your name?" "Judas Iscariot," said the man as he turned away. That night, Benjamin tucked the shiny denarius into his treasure box. So what's the next item we need to find for our box?
Money.
A coin. Should we see if we've got a coin in our bag? So you might want to go off now and look around your house and find a coin to go into your treasure box.
There
we are. Excellent. So we'll just pop that into the box. Okay, so let's see what happens next in the story. The next day, Benjamin was asked to help his aunt get ready for unexpected guests. They would be coming for Passover dinner. He went right to work carrying water jugs. "Did you hear the guest of honour is Jesus?" said a servant girl. Benjamin's eyes opened wide. Imagine to serve such an important man. He must work hard and do his very best. Two of Jesus' friends came to help, and Benjamin listened as they talked of Jesus. They loved him so much. Soon Jesus arrived and the supper began. If Benjamin listened carefully, he could hear some of their words. But what did Jesus mean when he said the wine was like his blood and would be spilled, and the bread was to be broken like his body? It made no sense. Then Jesus said someone would betray him. Benjamin smiled. He wasn't worried. He knew that Judas would prevent this. After supper, Benjamin found a broken cup. He saved it to remember the night when he served Jesus. You see what we've got in our bag for this one?
Yep.
And you can go off and find something in your house. What have we got?
We've got
we've got a little cup. So if you've got a bigger box, this is something you could get, a little cup or something that looks like a cup. If you've got a shoe box, you could put something like that in there. What have we got that's small that fits in our box?
Yeah. We have a different cup.
We've got a very tiny cup, haven't we?
Yeah.
You could find a bit of broken pottery, or you could draw your own cup and put that in stuff. Well done. Okay. Later, Jesus and his friends left to pray. Benjamin wanted to pray too. He followed at a distance, watching as they finally stopped in a garden. Benjamin sat beneath an olive tree and broke off a twig. He couldn't hear Jesus, but he knew he was praying. Benjamin prayed too, and as he prayed, he rubbed the twig between his hands. Before long, his eyelids grew heavy and he soon fell asleep. Loud yelling startled Benjamin. He leaped up in time to see soldiers taking Jesus away. "Stop!" he cried. "You can't take him. He hasn't done anything wrong." "Shh," said one of Jesus' friends, holding Benjamin back. "What's wrong?" demanded Benjamin. "Why are they taking him?" "They want to question him." Benjamin pulled away. "Why didn't you stop them?" But the man just shook his head and walked away. All Jesus' friends were gone now. Benjamin saw the smooth twig in his hand. "Dear God, please take care of my friend Jesus," he prayed as he walked. At home, he placed the broken cup and the twig in his box. You might want to go now to your garden and find a twig. We got a twig in our box?
So let's see. Where is the twig? Aha.
Oops. A couple of things there. We've got a twig. Well done.
Let's put it in our box.
Let's put it in. Excellent. "Benjamin, did you hear the news?" Eli asked the next morning. "They've locked Jesus up. Everyone says that Judas Iscariot got a bunch of money to betray him." Benjamin gasped. He had told Judas about the bribe. He said goodbye to Eli and wandered through the city. What could he do? Was there any way to help? Sounds of shouting made him stop, and he turned to see an angry crowd. "Jesus deserved that beating," snarled an old man. "That heretic claims to be God's son." "He should be stoned," yelled another, shaking a fist. "What's going on?" asked Benjamin. "Did they hurt Jesus?" "What do you know about Jesus?" demanded the old man. They all turned and stared at Benjamin with angry eyes. "No, nothing," he stammered. His gaze dropped to the ground where he noticed a small strip of leather. He picked it up. It was from the whips used by soldiers. Why would anyone beat Jesus? That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder how Benjamin was feeling at this point in the story.
He was feeling sad.
I think he was feeling a bit sad. I think he was, wasn't he?
Let's get it out of the box.
Oh, what do we find at this point? Oh, a bit of leather. Or a bit something to remind them.
Some leather. So you can find this somewhere in your garden or somewhere. And this leather is very old.
That is quite old, isn't it? We find it in the shed. Okay. This is quite a sad part of the story, isn't it? I wonder how you're feeling. It's not very nice that people have taken Jesus away, is it? Okay, Benjamin continued to walk. If only he could make them release Jesus. But what could a small boy do? He heard loud cries as another crowd gathered at the end of the street. "Hail, King of the Jews!" yelled a soldier as Benjamin pushed his way past men and women. And there stood Jesus. Benjamin looked into Jesus' eyes as Roman soldiers threw a shabby robe over his beaten back. He expected to see hatred, but instead saw only love. Just then a soldier shoved a crown of thorns on Jesus' head. Benjamin's eyes filled with tears. Why were they doing this? A few days ago, everyone had called Jesus a king when he entered Jerusalem. Now it seemed they all hated him. Benjamin squatted down and buried his head in his hands. "Please, God," he prayed over and over. "Please make them stop." When he finally opened his eyes, the crowd had moved along. Jesus was gone. He walked over to where they had scorned his friend and picked up a sharp thorn broken from the awful crown. He ran home. His parents paused to hear his story. Then sadly they shook their heads and returned to their work. Benjamin placed the thorn and leather strip in his box and cried. You want to find what we're going to use for a thorn? Can you remember?
So, let's have a look. Here's some thorn.
We found a prickly bramble in the garden, didn't we?
Yeah. So let's put it in the box.
Okay. "Benjamin," cried Eli, "have you heard? Jesus is going to be crucified. No, cried Benjamin, he has done nothing to deserve that. Eli frowned. My father says that only the worst criminals are put to death on a cross. Benjamin went inside and sat in a dark corner of his house. He did not want to talk, or even to think about this sad news. But in his mind he could still see the evil men hurting Jesus. I must go, he finally said aloud. I can pray for him. Where are you going? Asked his mother as she opened the door. To help a friend, he said. She nodded and touched his cheek. As Benjamin climbed the hill, he found a large spike. It was like those used by Romans to nail criminals to crosses. He tucked it in his tunic and continued on. 3 crosses stood at the top, but he could not force his eyes to look upon his friend. He noticed a small group of people apart from the larger crowd. He knew they were Jesus' dearest friends. He sat near them and bowed to pray. But the only words that came were, I'm sorry, God. I'm so sorry. That's a really hard part of the story, isn't it? How are you feeling in that part of the story? Sad. And what do we find in our box to think about this bit of the story when Jesus is on the cross?
What was it again?
Is there a little nail on there?
Right, so let me get it.
Maybe there it is. There we go.
So there is a thorn.
There's a nail, isn't it?
Yep.
Which reminds us of Jesus on the cross. Benjamin watched as soldiers gambled for Jesus' clothes. He tried to shut his ears to their cruel remarks. Finally, he forced himself to look up. Benjamin looked into Jesus' eyes and saw such sorrow and pain that it cut to his heart. But he also saw love, and like before, Jesus looked right at Benjamin. Surely this was his way of saying all would be well. Perhaps he would even do a miracle. But instead the sky turned dark, and Jesus cried out, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. The ground shook, and Jesus breathed his last breath. Benjamin was stunned. Jesus was dead. As if in a dream, Benjamin heard the people move about. People hurried to take down crosses and bodies before the Sabbath began. Soon they were gone, and he was alone. He picked up a stone the soldiers had gambled with and looked up at the dark sky. Why had God allowed it? Later that night he opened his treasure box and placed the nail and the gambling stone inside. He looked at his collection. It had seemed so valuable when he believed Jesus was the king, but now the strange items only filled him with unbearable sadness. He's feeling a bit sad, isn't he? What have we got in our bag? We've got a dice to remind us of the soldiers and Jesus' clothes. There we go. Should we pop it in our box?
Yeah.
Benjamin, called Eli the next morning, come hear the news. Benjamin stuck his head out the window and rubbed his sleepy eyes. Can you rub your sleepy eyes? Oh yeah, in the morning. They posted guards at Jesus' tomb, exclaimed Eli. Some say Jesus will return to life. Benjamin perked up. My grandfather told me that Jesus brought some people back from the dead. Maybe it will happen again, said Eli. But the soldiers say they're making sure people don't steal the body. Quickly, Benjamin dressed and raced to the tomb. Could it be? Could Jesus have returned to life? Harry hoped so. But the huge stone remained in place and the guards blocked the tomb with dark, scowling faces. They told him to leave at once. As Benjamin walked slowly down the hill, he noticed a bit of white cloth hanging from a small branch. He plucked it off and rubbed it between his fingers. His parents wove cloth like this for burials. Jesus is dead, he told himself as he continued toward home. That night he sadly placed the cloth in his box. This would surely be the last thing to remember his friend by. He tried to pray, but no words came. He wondered if God even listened.
So let's get some cloth.
A bit of white cloth. I've got some cloth. We can put that in our box.
Yeah. Are we doing it again?
No, it's just. There we go.
Let's put it in our box again.
Well done. Early the next morning, Benjamin went to the market for his mother. He used to enjoy the crowds in the city, but now they only reminded him of how everyone had turned against Jesus. He shuffled along without looking up. "It's a miracle!" shrieked a girl. Benjamin stopped in his tracks and listened. "Jesus has risen from the dead! The stone's been moved!" Benjamin turned and ran from the market and up toward the tomb. Could it possibly be true? Could Jesus have risen from the grave? In his heart he believed it could be. It must be. He ran even faster. Sure enough, the stone was rolled away. He fell to his knees and thanked God. When he stood, he picked up a sharp piece of broken rock. It must have crumbled from that huge stone. With a joyful heart, he marched back down to town. Jesus was alive! In the market, he met a woman who was a friend of Jesus. "I know the good news," he said. "Jesus is alive." "Yes," she smiled. "It's as the prophet said, on the third day he'll rise. Some of us have even seen him." Benjamin ran home and told his parents. He placed the stone in the box. What a treasure he had now.
So let's get it out here.
Should we find a stone that we can put in our box? That reminds us of the tomb that Jesus was placed in. But then what had happened to the stone when people went to look? It had been rolled
open.
Yeah, it had been rolled away, hadn't it? Rolled open. Well done, thank you, Esther. Okay. Wow, let's see. Do you think Benjamin wants to see Jesus again?
Yeah.
During the next few days, Benjamin and Eli listened as the disciples, Jesus' friends, shared about how Jesus had appeared to them in various places. Jesus said that all this came to pass just so forgiveness could be preached to all the different nations, all the different countries of the world, beginning right here in Jerusalem, explained a disciple. He said that since we saw all these things, now we can go out to tell others the good news too. Benjamin smiled. Now he understood. And he wanted to share the good news. He ran home and got his treasure box and went out into the streets and gathered all of his friends. "Inside this box," he exclaimed, "is a great treasure." The children drew closer and listened with excitement. One by one, Benjamin took out each item. He explained how he got it. He explained how he got it and what it all meant. "And so you see," he said, as he closed the box and looked into their faces, "the treasure is really Jesus. Because of what Jesus did on the cross, we can all be forgiven by God the Father." They all cheered and begged him to tell the story again. That night, Benjamin opened his box one more time before he went to bed. Want to open your box and see what you've got? He examined each item, handling them all with love and care. Finally, he placed the last one back in his box. Then he knelt and prayed. "Dear God, thank you for letting me find all these special treasures. But most of all, I thank you for sending me the greatest treasure of all. Thank you for sending me Jesus. And help me to be a good servant for Jesus. Help me to tell everyone I know about the good news too. Amen." And that's the story of Benjamin going around finding treasures to go in his box that tells us the story of Jesus that we think about in Holy Week and at Easter. I wonder how you found that story. I wonder if you've managed to find some of those treasures. And I wonder how you feel about some of the people that Benjamin met. And I wonder how you feel about that story. Perhaps you can discuss that with somebody at home. Did you enjoy the story, Esther? Yeah? Should we say bye to them for now?
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.